Today we're going to be talking about reflections. Yesterday we talked about translations, and this is something that you are already familiar with, or you should be from last year. So this is more of just a review. Now remember, reflections is like when you reflect something. So it's just going to be the opposite. So for reflections, you reflect over the line of reflection. In this case, our lines of reflection are going to be the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so if you're reflecting over the x-axis, if you're reflecting over the x-axis, the y-coordinate is going to change to its opposite. So what I mean by that is if your y-coordinate is a -2, it will change to a +2 because the opposite of -2 is a +2. And vice versa. If it's a 2 as your y-coordinate, it would change to a -2. So if you're reflecting over the x-axis, the y is changing. So when you reflect over the y-axis, the x-coordinate changes. So since reflections are really about opposites, that's really what you need to remember. If you're reflecting over the x-axis, the opposite coordinate, the y, is what's changing. If you're reflecting over the y, the opposite, the x, is changing. So let's see what that looks like. So we're going to reflect over the y-axis first. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm circling that, so I'm paying attention, but it is the y-axis I'm reflecting over. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and write down the ordered pairs of each coordinate. So A is at -3, 4. B is at -1, 3. And C is at -2, 1. So remember, when we are graphing our image, this is our pre-image, and these are our points from our pre-image. When we're graphing the image, we need to make sure we put that little tick mark to show that those are the reflection image. So if we're changing the y-axis, we're reflecting over the y-axis, the opposite coordinate is going to change. So in this case, our x's are going to change. So all of our x coordinates are going to change to their opposites. Okay, so A prime is now going to be 3, 4, because the x is the only thing that's changing. The y does not change. For B prime, the -1 changes to a 1, we keep the 3. For C prime, the -2 becomes a 2, we keep the 1. So we can go ahead and graph that. So I'm going to graph A prime at 3, 4. I'm going to graph B prime at 1, 3. I'm going to graph C prime at 2, 1. I'm going to connect those, and now I have a reflected image. So for number 2, we're going to reflect over the x-axis. So again, since we're reflecting over the x, we're changing the y-coordinate. So I'm going to get the ordered pairs for each one. A is at 4, -3, for over 4, down 3. B is at 3, 0. And C is at 1, -2. Okay, so now we're changing our y-coordinates. We're reflecting over the x. We're reflecting over the x, so our y-coordinates are going to change. So then our A prime is 4 comma 3 because the opposite of negative 3 is 3. For B prime, 0 doesn't have an opposite. The opposite of 0 is 0. So we don't need to change that one. This point's going to stay the same. And then for C prime, our negative 2 is becoming a positive 2. Now I can graph it. I go over 4 up 3 for A prime. B prime stays right where it's at. And C prime goes over 1 up 2. Connect my points. That was not a good connection, but it's okay. And there we go. There you go. So that is all on reflections.